The Day Aliens Learned Why You Never Defy Humans. Part 1. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Harmony, watching the stars shift as their ship moved through space. Today was the most important day in human history. After months of radio signals back and forth, Earth was finally going to meet their first alien visitors face to face. The Zephyrian Collective had been watching Earth for several years. They sent the first message 3 months ago, speaking perfect English through their advanced computers. They said they wanted to meet and talk about friendship between their races. Sarah felt excited but also nervous. This could change everything for humanity. "Captain, we're getting close to the meeting point," said Lieutenant Rodriguez from his station. The young officer looked as nervous as Sarah felt. Everyone on the ship knew how big this moment was. Sarah looked at the special cargo they had brought. Boxes full of Earth's greatest art, music, and scientific discoveries. Pictures of beautiful places on Earth. Samples of human food and culture. The best minds on Earth had chosen these gifts to show the aliens what humans were really like. "There they are," whispered Dr. Marcus Torres, Earth's top scientist. He was staring out the main window with wide eyes. Sarah turned to look and gasped. The alien ship was huge. It was 10 times bigger than their own vessel, and covered in strange blue lights that pulsed like a heartbeat. The metal looked different from anything humans had ever seen. It seemed to bend light around it in impossible ways. "Open a channel," Sarah ordered. Her heart was beating fast, but she tried to sound calm and professional. The screen in front of them flickered and showed an alien face. Sarah had seen pictures before, but seeing a real Zephyrian still shocked her. High Commander Vextal looked almost human, but his skin was gray and smooth like stone. His eyes were larger than human eyes and completely black. When he spoke, his mouth moved wrong, like he was not used to making human sounds. "Greetings, primitive species," Vextal said. His voice was cold and sounded bored. "I am High Commander Vextal of the Zephyrian Collective. We have come to offer you a great honor." Sarah felt something was wrong. This did not sound like the friendly aliens from their earlier messages. "Thank you for meeting with us, High Commander. We have brought gifts from Earth to show our desire for friendship." Vextal made a sound that might have been laughter, but it was not pleasant. "Gifts? How amusing. We do not need gifts from lesser beings. We have come to inform you that your species will now join the Zephyrian Collective. You should feel grateful for this opportunity." The words hit Sarah like a cold wave. "I'm sorry, but I think there's been a misunderstanding. We came here to discuss peaceful cooperation between our peoples." "There is no misunderstanding," Vextal replied. His black eyes seemed to grow darker. "For 1,000 years, the Zephyrian Collective has brought order to this galaxy. We have absorbed 47 different species. Each one is now part of our great empire. Your turn has come." Dr. Torres stepped forward. "With respect, High Commander, humanity values its independence. We would be happy to trade and share knowledge, but we must decline your offer to join your collective." The alien's face changed. His smooth features twisted into something angry and dangerous. "You decline? You dare to refuse the Zephyrian Collective?" His voice got louder and more frightening. "No species has ever been foolish enough to reject our generous offer." "We appreciate the offer," Sarah said carefully, "but humans believe in freedom and choice. We hope we can still be friends and work together without joining your empire." Vextal stood up from his chair. Even through the screen, Sarah could see he was much taller than any human. "Friends? You think you can bargain with us like equals? Look around you, primitive creature." The view on the screen changed. Sarah and her crew could now see space around both ships. What they saw made everyone gasp in fear. Hundreds of Zephyrian ships surrounded them. Each one was as big or bigger than Vextal's ship. They had been hiding somehow, invisible until now. "This is just a small part of our fleet," Vextal said with pride. "Our technology is thousands of years ahead of yours. Our weapons can destroy your entire planet from here. Our shields can stop any attack you might try. We have conquered species much more advanced than you." Sarah felt her mouth go dry, but she forced herself to speak. "We understand you have great power, High Commander. But surely there's room in the galaxy for both our peoples to exist peacefully." "Peace?" Vextal laughed again, and the sound made everyone on the bridge shiver. "There is only order. Our order: you have 2 choices, humans. Join the collective willingly and serve us, or we will take your world by force and make you serve us anyway. The choice is yours, but the result will be the same." Dr. Torres whispered to Sarah, "Captain, our sensors are going crazy. Their ships are doing something to our engines." Sarah looked at her control panels. Red warning lights were flashing everywhere. "High Commander, you're attacking our ship." "We are simply showing you how hopeless resistance would be," Vextal replied calmly. "Your primitive engines are now disabled. Your weapons systems are offline. Your communications with Earth are blocked. This is what happens when someone tries to defy the Zephyrian collective." The ship shook as invisible forces grabbed it. Sarah could feel the Harmony being pulled toward the alien fleet like a fish caught in a net. "You have one of your Earth days to decide," Vextal continued. "Send a message to your leaders. Tell them that the Zephyrian collective will arrive at your world in 7 days. Your planet will surrender or your planet will burn. Those are the only options, and if we choose to fight?" Sarah asked, though she already knew the answer. Vextal's black eyes seemed to shine with cruel amusement. "Fight with what? Your primitive rockets and nuclear weapons? We have destroyed civilizations that had technology you cannot even imagine. Some species tried to hide in other dimensions. Others built weapons that could destroy stars. None of that saved them. What makes you think your pathetic species could do any better?" The alien commander leaned closer to the screen. "I have personally overseen the conquest of 16 worlds human. I have seen species beg for mercy. I have watched proud civilizations crumble to dust. Your world will be no different. The only question is how many of your people will die before you accept the inevitable." Sarah felt anger building inside her chest. "You might be stronger than us, High Commander, but you don't know humans very well. We don't give up easily." "No species gives up easily at first," Vextal replied with boredom. "They all say the same things. They all make the same brave speeches. And they all kneel before the collective in the end. Your species will be no different." The screen went dark. The alien ships released their invisible grip on the Harmony. Sarah could feel the engines coming back online. "Captain," Rodriguez called out. "They're letting us go. We have full power again." Sarah stared out at the massive alien fleet. They were not trying to stop the Harmony from leaving. They were so confident in their power that they did not even worry about letting the humans return to Earth. "Set course for home," Sarah ordered. "Maximum speed." As the Harmony jumped to faster-than-light travel, Sarah thought about Vextal's words. The alien commander was probably right about one thing. Humanity had never faced anything like this before, but he was wrong about something important. He had never faced anything like humanity either. The trip back to Earth would take 2 days. Sarah hoped that would be enough time to warn everyone and prepare for what was coming. She had a feeling the galaxy was about to learn something new about humans, something the Zephyrian collective was not going to like. The Day Aliens Learned Why You Never Defy Humans. Part 2. The emergency meeting in Geneva brought together every world leader, military commander, and top scientist on Earth. President Martinez sat at the head of the long table, her face serious as she listened to Captain Chen's report. The room was completely silent except for Sarah's voice describing the massive alien fleet and their impossible technology. "So they gave us 7 days," President Martinez said when Sarah finished. 7 days to surrender our entire planet or face total destruction." "That's correct, Madam President," Sarah replied. High Commander Vextal seemed completely confident that we would give up without a real fight. He said no species had ever successfully resisted them. General Thompson, head of Earth's combined military forces, shook his head. "Our best weapons are useless against their technology. They disabled our most advanced ship without even trying. How do we fight something like that?" Dr. Marcus Torres stood up from his seat. The scientist looked tired after the long journey back to Earth, but his eyes were bright with determination. "May I suggest that we're thinking about this problem the wrong way?" "What do you mean, Doctor?" asked President Martinez. "The aliens expect us to fight them the same way every other species has fought them," Marcus explained. "They expect big battles with massive weapons and direct attacks on their fleet. They're prepared for that kind of war because they've fought it many times before." Minister Chen from the Chinese delegation leaned forward. "Are you suggesting we don't fight them at all?" "No," Marcus said with a small smile. "I'm suggesting we fight them in a way they've never seen before. The Zephyrians have been conquering other worlds for 1,000 years. They have a system that works. But that system depends on their enemies being predictable." President Martinez looked confused. "Doctor, they have technology that's thousands of years ahead of ours. How can we surprise them?" Marcus walked to the large screen at the front of the room. "May I show you something that very few people know about?" He pressed some buttons and the screen lit up with files marked Top Secret. What you're about to see has been kept hidden for over 50 years, Marcus continued. When we first started exploring space, some very smart people asked a simple question. What if we meet hostile aliens someday? What if they're much more advanced than us? The screen showed pictures of strange buildings hidden deep underground. Other images showed bases built into the ocean floor and installations on the dark side of the moon. The Prometheus Project, Marcus said. For decades, the best scientists from every country have been working together in secret. We've been developing technology and strategies specifically for fighting a superior alien force. General Thompson stared at the images. I've never heard of any of this. Very few people have, Marcus replied. The project has been funded through black budgets and hidden research programs. We told ourselves it was just in case, probably something we'd never need. We were wrong. President Martinez studied the pictures. What kind of technology are we talking about, Doctor? Marcus pressed another button. The screen showed detailed plans for weapons and ships that looked nothing like current human technology. We've been developing quantum disruption weapons that can interfere with alien energy systems. We've created AI programs that can learn and adapt faster than any human mind. We've built ships that are small and fast instead of big and powerful. But will any of this actually work against the Zephyrians? Asked General Thompson. We don't know, Marcus admitted. But we do know that the aliens are expecting us to fight like every other species they've conquered. They're expecting big, obvious military targets. They're expecting us to meet their fleet in space with our own fleet. Minister Petrov from Russia spoke up. So what do you propose we do instead? Marcus turned to face the room. We make them think we're giving up. We let them come to Earth confident and unprepared. Then we hit them with everything they don't expect. The room was quiet for a long moment. Finally, President Martinez spoke. Doctor, are you seriously suggesting we let them invade Earth? I'm suggesting we let them try to invade Earth, Marcus corrected. There's a big difference. The Zephyrians think they know how humans will react because they know how every other species has reacted. But they've never met a species quite like us. Over the next 3 days, the world transformed in ways no one could see from space. The aliens had positioned their massive fleet around Earth's solar system, watching and waiting for surrender. What they saw looked exactly like what they expected to see. Human military forces seemed to be preparing for a hopeless last stand. Cities appeared to be in panic. World leaders made speeches about fighting to the end, but their words sounded hollow and desperate. The Zephyrians congratulated themselves on another successful intimidation campaign. Soon the primitive humans would realize they had no choice but to submit. But beneath the surface, something very different was happening. Hidden facilities that had been sleeping for decades came to life. Deep under the Pacific Ocean, massive underwater bases activated their power systems for the first time. On the dark side of the moon, installations that looked like small scientific outposts revealed their true purpose as command and control centers. Dr. Torres worked 20-hour days coordinating with teams of scientists and engineers around the world. The Prometheus Project had been preparing for this moment for 50 years, but they only had days to put their plans into action. How are we doing with the quantum disruptors? Marcus asked Dr. Sarah Kim, one of the project's lead engineers. Better than expected, Sarah replied, looking at her computer screens. We've managed to build and deploy over 300 units. They're hidden in small satellites that look like space junk. The aliens haven't paid any attention to them. And the AI systems? Online and learning, said Dr. James Wright from his workstation. We've been feeding them every piece of data we have about Zephyrian technology. They're already finding patterns and weaknesses that we missed. Marcus nodded and moved to the next station. Lieutenant Commander Hayes, what's the status of our special forces? The military officer looked up from her tactical displays. All teams are in position, sir. We have small units hidden throughout the solar system in ships that are invisible to alien sensors. Each team has the new quantum weapons and communication equipment. Remember, Marcus said to everyone in the room, the key to this plan is that the aliens must never realize what we're really doing until it's too late. They think they understand humans, but they're about to learn they were very wrong. On the 4th day, something unexpected happened. Captain Chen received a message from High Commander Vextal. The alien leader wanted to talk again. Humans, Vextal said when the communication opened. I am impressed by your preparations for battle. Most species simply surrender when they see our fleet. You at least have the courage to try fighting even though you know you will lose. Sarah chose her words carefully. We are prepared to defend our world, High Commander. But we still hope this can end peacefully. Vextal made that unpleasant laughing sound again. Peaceful? There is no peace for those who defy the collective. But I will make you an offer. Surrender now, and we will allow your leaders to live as servants in our empire. Continue to resist, and every human on your planet will be enslaved. We need more time to consider your offer, Sarah replied. You have had enough time, Vextal said coldly. Our invasion begins at dawn tomorrow, your time. Prepare your people to kneel before their new masters. The communication ended. Sarah immediately sent a coded message to Dr. Torres. The guest arrives tomorrow morning. All around the world, that simple message activated final preparations. In hidden bases and secret facilities, humans made their last checks on weapons and systems that had never been tested in real combat. Soldiers and scientists who had trained their whole lives for this moment took their positions. The Zephyrian fleet began moving toward Earth, confident and proud. High Commander Vextal stood on his command bridge, watching the small blue planet grow larger on his screens. In a few hours, this world would join the 47 others under collective control. What Vextal didn't know was that human satellites and sensors were tracking every movement of his fleet. AI systems were analyzing every alien ship and predicting their attack patterns. Hidden weapons were targeting systems the aliens didn't even know could be targeted. As night fell across Earth, Dr. Torres stood in the main command center deep beneath the Swiss mountains. Around him, hundreds of scientists and military personnel monitored screens showing the alien fleet's approach. Are we really going to try this? Asked General Thompson, who had been brought into the facility just hours before. Marcus looked at the tactical displays. General, 50 years ago, some very smart people asked what we would do if advanced aliens tried to conquer Earth. Tomorrow, we find out if they came up with the right answers. The countdown to invasion had begun. In a few hours, the Zephyrian collective would learn something that no species in the galaxy had ever taught them before. They would learn what happened when they tried to conquer humanity. The day aliens learned why you never defy humans, Part 3. The first alien ships entered Earth's atmosphere just as the sun began to rise over the Pacific Ocean. High Commander Vextal watched from his flagship as hundreds of Zephyrian vessels descended toward the major cities of Earth. Everything was going exactly as planned, just like the 47 conquests before this one. Sir, reported Sub-Commander Kraith, human military forces are taking defensive positions around their cities. Their aircraft are moving to intercept our advance units. Vextal nodded with satisfaction. Predictable. They will make a show of resistance before they realize how hopeless their situation is. Proceed with standard conquest protocol. What happened next was not standard at all. The human aircraft that rose to meet the alien ships were not the fighter jets the Zephyrians expected. Instead, thousands of small, strange-looking craft swarmed up from hidden locations all over Earth. Each one was no bigger than a human car, and they moved in ways that seemed impossible. What are those things? Kraith asked, staring at his sensor readings. Before Vextal could answer, the small human craft opened fire. But these were not the primitive weapons the aliens expected. Beams of energy that sparkled like lightning hit the Zephyrian ships, and something incredible happened. The alien vessels simply stopped working. Report, Vextal shouted as alarm sounds filled his bridge. Sir, we're losing ships everywhere, called out the weapons officer. The human energy weapons are interfering with our power systems. Our shields are failing, our engines are shutting down. Vextal stared at the tactical display in disbelief. Red marks showed dozens of his ships falling from the sky or drifting powerless in space. That's impossible. No primitive species has technology like this. Down on Earth, Dr. Torres watched the battle from the hidden command center. The quantum disruptors are working perfectly, he reported to President Martinez over the secure communication line. The alien ships can't maintain power when hit by our energy beams. How is that possible? The president asked. Their technology is supposed to be thousands of years ahead of ours. That's exactly why it works, Marcus explained. Their technology is so advanced and complex that when we disrupt it at the quantum level, their systems can't compensate. It's like using a computer virus on a supercomputer. The more advanced the system, the more damage the virus can do. Meanwhile, in space around Earth, the second part of the human plan was beginning. Small ships that had been hiding behind asteroids and space debris suddenly came to life. Each one carried only a few human crew members, but they were armed with the most advanced weapons Earth had ever created. Lieutenant Commander Maria Santos led one of these attack groups. She had spent years training for this moment in secret simulators. Falcon Squadron, this is Falcon Leader. Target the alien command ships and remember your training. Hit fast, hit hard, and don't give them time to adapt. The human ships moved like schools of fish, never staying in one place long enough for the alien weapons to lock onto them. When they attacked, they struck with precision at specific points on the enemy vessels. How are they doing this? Bextel demanded as another group of his ships went dark. Their ships are too small to carry weapons that powerful. Sir, reported the sensor officer, the human vessels appear to be using some kind of artificial intelligence to coordinate their attacks. They're predicting our movements and targeting our weakest systems. Vextal felt something he had never experienced in 1,000 years of conquest. Confusion. Every species the collective had ever fought used the same basic strategy. Build big ships, load them with powerful weapons, and fight in organized formations. These humans were doing everything wrong, and somehow that made them incredibly effective. Bring in the heavy assault ships, Vextal ordered. We'll destroy these pests with overwhelming firepower. But the heavy assault ships never got the chance to fire. As they moved into attack position, they discovered that humans had been busy in other ways. Mines that looked like ordinary space rocks exploded around the alien vessels. These were not normal explosives, but quantum bombs that tore holes in reality itself. The massive alien warships, built to withstand the weapons of advanced civilizations, were torn apart by weapons that attacked the very structure of space and time. On Earth, the battle was going just as well. The alien ground forces that had landed in major cities found themselves fighting an enemy that refused to play by the rules. Instead of armies meeting armies on open battlefields, humans attacked from everywhere and nowhere. Colonel Jackson led the defense of New York City. His forces were hidden in buildings, tunnels, and subway systems throughout the city. When alien troops advanced down the streets, humans attacked from above and below, from the sides and behind. The enemy is using the city itself as a weapon, Jackson reported to command. Their troops are designed to fight organized resistance, not guerrilla warfare in urban terrain. Every window could hide a sniper. Every sewer tunnel could contain a bomb. The Zephyrian ground forces, trained to crush organized military resistance, found themselves helpless against an enemy that was everywhere and nowhere at once. Humans would attack suddenly, cause damage and disappear before the aliens could respond. Then they would attack again from a completely different direction. Back on his flagship, High Commander Vextal was experiencing something no Zephyrian commander had felt in centuries. Panic. His invasion force was being destroyed by an enemy that should have been helpless against his superior technology. Sir, Kraith reported, we've lost contact with 60% of our fleet. The human weapons are unlike anything in our databases. They're not just defeating our technology, they're learning from each engagement and becoming more effective. Vextal studied the battle reports flooding in from across the solar system. Human forces were attacking his ships with weapons that seemed to know exactly where to strike for maximum damage. Their small craft were moving in patterns that perfectly countered Zephyrian tactics. Get me a direct line to the human leadership, Vextal commanded. I will speak with them directly. The communication opened to show Dr. Torres in the command center. The human scientist looked calm and confident, very different from the frightened primitives Vextal expected to see. High Commander, Marcus said politely. How can I help you? What is the meaning of this? Vextal demanded. Your species should not possess this level of technology. You should not be capable of this kind of resistance. Marcus smiled slightly. You're right, High Commander. We shouldn't be able to fight you using traditional methods. So we decided not to use traditional methods. This is impossible, Vextal insisted. No species develops advanced weapons technology in just a few days. Your people were primitive when we arrived. Our people have been preparing for this day for over 50 years, Marcus replied. We've been developing weapons and tactics specifically designed to fight an enemy with superior technology. We studied every way that advanced civilizations could be defeated, and we built our entire defense plan around those weaknesses. Vextal felt a chill run through his body. You planned for this? You knew we were coming? We knew someone like you would come eventually, Marcus said. The galaxy is full of advanced civilizations, and sooner or later one of them would try to conquer Earth. We decided to be ready. The alien commander stared at the human scientist. In all his years of conquest, he had never encountered a species that had prepared for invasion before first contact. Every other race had been caught by surprise and overwhelmed before they could organize effective resistance. "Sir," Kraith called out urgently, "human reinforcements are arriving from their outer planets. They have bases and weapons throughout the solar system that we never detected." Vextal turned to see new formations of human ships arriving from Mars, the asteroid belt, and the moons of Jupiter. Each group was armed with different types of weapons, as if humans had been experimenting with every possible way to fight advanced aliens. "This changes nothing," Vextal said, though his voice lacked its earlier confidence. "We still have superior numbers. We still have more powerful ships." Marcus shook his head. "Numbers and power don't matter if you can't hit your target, High Commander. And your ships are designed to fight other advanced civilizations using advanced tactics. They're not designed to fight a species that's willing to try anything, no matter how crazy it might seem." As if to prove his point, a new wave of human attacks began. This time, tiny robotic drones no bigger than insects swarmed over the alien ships. Each drone carried a small quantum charge that could disable specific systems. The Zephyrian point defense weapons, designed to stop large missiles and energy beams, were useless against targets too small to reliably track. "Fall back," Vextal ordered, his voice hollow with disbelief. "All ships retreat to the outer system. We need time to regroup and analyze these new threats." But retreat was not going to be easy. The humans had surrounded the alien fleet with weapons and traps. Every time the Zephyrians tried to withdraw, they encountered new obstacles and attacks. For the first time in 1,000 years, the Zephyrian collective was losing a battle. And they were losing it to a species they had dismissed as primitive and helpless just hours before. The day aliens learned why you never defy humans. Part 4 High Commander Vextal stood in his damaged command center, staring at reports that made no sense. In 12 hours of fighting, the Zephyrian collective had lost more ships than in their previous 10 conquests combined. Worse, the humans were not just defeating them, they were learning and adapting with every battle. "Sir," Sub-Commander Kraith reported, "the human forces have begun using our own technology against us. They're boarding our disabled ships and somehow making our weapons work for them." Vextal could barely believe what he was hearing. "How is that possible? Our systems require years of training to operate. They should not be able to understand our technology so quickly. According to our surveillance, they are using artificial intelligence to analyze and reverse engineer everything they capture. Their computers are learning faster than our technicians can adapt." Captain Sarah Chen was leading one of those boarding operations. She moved through the corridors of a captured Zephyrian cruiser with her team of human engineers and soldiers. The alien ship was 3 times larger than anything humans had ever built, but her people were already figuring out how everything worked. "Dr. Patel," Sarah called to the team's technology specialist, "how long before we can get this ship operational?" Dr. Patel looked up from an alien control panel, her hands moving quickly over symbols she had never seen before. "The AI translation system is amazing, Captain. It's not just learning the alien language, it's understanding how they think. Give me another hour and we'll have full control of their weapons and engines." "An hour?" Sarah was impressed. "It would take our people months to learn this technology the normal way." "That's the beauty of the AI system," Dr. Patel explained. "It doesn't just copy what the aliens do. It understands the principles behind their technology and then finds ways to make it work better." That was exactly what was happening all across the battlefield. Every alien ship the humans captured became a new weapon in their arsenal. But these were not just copies of Zephyrian technology. Human engineers and AI systems were improving the alien designs, making them faster, more efficient, and more deadly. Lieutenant Rodriguez, now commanding a modified alien fighter, contacted Sarah over the communication system. "Captain, you have to see this. Our people have figured out how to combine human and alien technology. This ship is twice as fast as it was when the aliens were flying it. The Zephyrians had never encountered anything like this before. In their 1,000 years of conquest, captured enemy technology was always inferior to their own. But the humans were taking Zephyrian designs and making them better." "Sir," the alien weapons officer reported to Vextal, "the humans are now fielding ships that are more advanced than ours. They've combined their quantum disruption technology with our energy systems. The result is weapons that can penetrate our strongest shields. Vextal felt something he had never experienced in his long military career. Fear. Not just fear of losing a battle, but fear of losing everything the collective had built over centuries of conquest. "Contact the High Council," he ordered. "Tell them we need reinforcements immediately. Send them all the data we've collected on human technology and tactics." "Sir, we're having trouble with our long-range communications. The humans have somehow intercepted our quantum communication arrays and are interfering with our signals." In the command center deep beneath Earth, Dr. Torres was coordinating the most complex military operation in human history. Multiple screens showed battles raging across the solar system, and every single engagement was going in humanity's favor. "Marcus," President Martinez said over the secure line, "our people are reporting incredible success. Are we actually winning this war?" "We're not just winning, Madam President. We're revolutionizing warfare itself. Every piece of alien technology we capture makes us stronger. Every tactic they try teaches us something new about how to fight advanced civilizations." General Thompson joined the conversation from his mobile command post. "Doctor, our field commanders are reporting something unusual. The alien forces are starting to retreat, but they're retreating in panic. This isn't an organized withdrawal. They're running." Marcus nodded grimly. "The Zephyrians have spent 1,000 years fighting enemies who used predictable strategies. They've never faced an opponent that could adapt and improve in real time. Their entire military doctrine is based on overwhelming superiority, not on fighting a learning enemy." The truth was even worse for the aliens than the humans realized. The Zephyrian collective was not just losing ships and weapons. They were losing their most valuable asset, the belief that they were invincible. Sub-Commander Kraith watched his tactical display with growing horror. "Sir, we're receiving surrender requests from 12 of our ship captains. They're asking permission to negotiate with the humans." Vextal roared in anger. "Surrender? No Zephyrian commander has ever surrendered to an inferior species. We do not negotiate. We conquer or we die." "With respect, sir," Kraith replied quietly, "the humans may not be inferior. Their technology is advancing so rapidly that some of their weapons are now more sophisticated than ours." The alien commander turned to stare at his subordinate. "What did you say?" "Sir, our analysis teams have been studying the human weapon systems. They started this battle with primitive technology, but they're now fielding devices that our best scientists don't understand. They're not just adapting to our technology, they're surpassing it." Meanwhile, Captain Chen had successfully taken control of the Zephyrian cruiser. Her mixed crew of humans and captured alien defectors was already planning their next attack. "Captain," reported Ensign Murphy from the navigation station, "we're receiving a message from Dr. Torres. He wants us to lead an assault on the alien flagship." Sarah smiled. The flagship was Vextal's command ship, the largest and most heavily armed vessel in the alien fleet. A few hours ago, attacking it would have been suicide. Now it seemed almost easy. "Set course for the flagship," she ordered, "and signal the other captured ships. It's time to show High Commander Vextal what humans can do with his own technology." The attack that followed was unlike anything in the history of galactic warfare. Human forces, now flying improved versions of alien ships and armed with hybrid human-alien weapons, surrounded Vextal's massive flagship. The attack came from every direction at once, using tactics that the Zephyrian commander could not predict or counter. "Sir, we're being attacked by our own ships," the weapons officer reported in confusion. "But they're flying in formations we've never seen before, using weapons that shouldn't exist." Vextal watched in horror as his most powerful vessel was systematically dismantled by an enemy that had learned to use his own technology better than he could. Human boarding parties were cutting through his ship's defenses like they had been designed specifically to defeat Zephyrian systems. "All units, this is High Commander Vextal," he broadcast to what remained of his fleet. "I am ordering a full retreat from this system. All ships are to withdraw immediately to the outer territories." But even retreat was no longer an option. Human forces had surrounded the entire alien fleet with a network of weapons, sensors, and traps. Every time the Zephyrians tried to escape, they encountered new obstacles that seemed to anticipate their every move. "Sir," Kraith said quietly, "perhaps we should consider the possibility that we cannot win this battle." Vextal turned to look at his old friend and subordinate. In all their years of service together, Kraith had never suggested that the collective could lose a war. "What are you saying?" Vextal asked. "I'm saying that the humans are not like other species we have conquered. They don't just fight back. They learn and improve faster than we can adapt. Every hour that passes makes them stronger and us relatively weaker." Through the main viewer, Vextal could see human ships that were now clearly superior to his own. Ships that had been built using Zephyrian technology, but improved with human innovation and creativity. For the first time in his long military career, High Commander Vextal began to understand that he might have made a terrible mistake. The humans were not another primitive species ready for conquest. They were something else entirely, something the galaxy had never seen before, and now they were coming for him. The Day Aliens Learned Why You Never Defy Humans, Part 5. The final battle lasted only 3 hours. When it was over, the mighty Zephyrian collective fleet was either destroyed, captured, or fleeing toward the edge of the solar system. High Commander Vextal found himself a prisoner aboard his own flagship, now under the control of Captain Sarah Chen and her human crew. Vextal sat in what had once been his private command chamber, his hands bound with restraints made from his own ship's technology. The irony was not lost on him. For the first time in 1,000 years, a Zephyrian commander had been defeated in battle. "High Commander," Sarah said as she entered the room. She no longer wore the uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps. Now she dressed in the modified armor of a human battle commander, carrying weapons that combined the best of human and alien technology. "I suppose you have come to gloat over your victory," Vextal said bitterly. Sarah pulled up a chair and sat down across from the alien commander. "Actually, I came to talk. My superiors want to understand something. In your 1,000 years of conquest, did any species ever offer to peacefully share the galaxy with the collective?" Vextal looked surprised by the question. "Many species begged for mercy. Most offered to serve us willingly if we spared their worlds." "That's not what I asked," Sarah replied patiently. "Did any species ever offer genuine partnership? Cooperation between equals?" The alien commander thought for a long moment. Some tried to negotiate treaties. They wanted to maintain some independence while acknowledging collective superiority. "We rejected all such offers, of course." "Of course," Sarah nodded, "because the collective only understood domination and submission. You never learned how to coexist with equals." "There were no equals," Vextal replied automatically, then stopped. The word sounded hollow now after his devastating defeat. Meanwhile, in the command center on Earth, world leaders were meeting to decide what to do with their unexpected victory. The discussion was unlike any in human history. "The question," said President Martinez, "is what we do now. We've defeated the most powerful military force in the galaxy. That makes us responsible for what happens next." Dr. Torres brought up a star map showing the territories that had been under Zephyrian control. According to the data we've captured from their ships, the collective controlled 47 different species across hundreds of worlds. Most of those species have been enslaved for centuries. Minister Chen leaned forward. "Are you suggesting we should liberate them?" "I'm suggesting we already have," Marcus replied. "The moment we defeated the collective, their control over those worlds ended. The question is whether we help them rebuild or leave them to figure things out on their own." General Thompson raised a practical concern. "We don't have the resources to govern hundreds of alien worlds. We barely know how to govern our own planet." "Who said anything about governing them?" President Martinez asked. "What if we help them govern themselves?" The discussion continued for hours, but the basic principle was clear from the beginning. Humanity had not fought this war to build an empire. They had fought to preserve their freedom and independence. Back on the captured flagship, Sarah continued her conversation with Vextal. "High Commander, what will happen to the species that were under collective control? Without our guidance and protection, they will descend into chaos," Vextal replied with certainty. "Most of them have forgotten how to govern themselves. They depend on the collective for everything." "Then maybe it's time they learned," Sarah suggested. Vextal stared at her. "You cannot be serious. You would abandon billions of beings to fend for themselves?" "We would help them learn to fend for themselves," Sarah corrected. "There's a difference between abandonment and independence." Over the following weeks, humanity began the most complex diplomatic mission in galactic history. Teams of human negotiators, scientists, and aid workers spread across the former collective territories. Their mission was not to conquer or control, but to help Dr. Torres led the main diplomatic mission to Kepler 442b, homeworld of the Thylorian people, who had been enslaved by the collective for over 300 years. The Thylorians were a peaceful, artistic species whose entire culture had been suppressed under alien rule. "We don't understand," said Elder Morthak, the oldest surviving Thylorian leader. "Why are you helping us? What do you want in return?" Marcus smiled. "We want the same thing for you that we wanted for ourselves. The right to determine your own future. But you defeated the greatest power in the galaxy," Morthak insisted. "You could rule us easily. Why don't you?" "Because ruling other people against their will is wrong," Marcus replied simply. "We learned that from our own history on Earth. Similar conversations were taking place on dozens of worlds. Human representatives were meeting with species that had been enslaved for so long, they had forgotten what freedom meant. Some were suspicious, expecting humanity to be just another version of the collective. Others were grateful but confused about how to build their own governments. The process was not easy. Some worlds descended into civil war as different groups fought over how to organize their new freedom. Others struggled with economic problems after being cut off from the collective's controlled trade system. A few even asked humanity to take control, preferring the security of guided rule to the uncertainty of independence. But humanity's response was consistent. They provided aid, advice, and protection when asked. They shared technology and knowledge freely, but they refused to rule or control any world except their own. Captain Chen returned to Earth after 6 months of helping to establish new governments across the former collective territory. She met with President Martinez to report on their progress. "How is it going out there, Captain?" the president asked. "Better than expected," Sarah replied. "It's messy and complicated, but most of the liberated worlds are starting to figure things out. The Thylorians have established a beautiful council-based democracy. The Zentaurians have created a trade federation that's already more prosperous than they were under the collective. And the former Zephyrians?" Sarah's expression grew more serious. "That's more complicated. Many of them are having trouble accepting that their empire is gone. Some are trying to rebuild the collective under new leadership. Others want to join the alliance we're putting together. The alliance Sarah mentioned was humanity's greatest achievement. Instead of building an empire, they had created a voluntary association of free worlds. Each species maintained complete independence but could call on the others for help when needed. The Galactic Freedom Alliance, as it came to be called, was based on principles that the collective had never understood. Cooperation instead of domination, mutual aid instead of tribute, respect for differences instead of forced conformity. High Commander Vextal spent his imprisonment learning about these principles. At first he dismissed them as naive idealism that would collapse under pressure. But as months passed and the alliance grew stronger, he began to understand something that shook his core beliefs. "Captain Chen," he said during one of their regular conversations, "I have studied the reports from across the former collective territories. Your alliance is becoming more powerful than we ever were." Sarah nodded. "When people choose to work together instead of being forced to, they accomplish amazing things. But how do you maintain control? How do you ensure loyalty?" "We don't," Sarah replied. "Any world can leave the alliance whenever they want. That's what makes it strong. People who choose to stay are much more committed than people who are forced to stay." Bextel was quiet for a long time. Finally, he asked, "What will happen to me and my people?" "That depends," Sarah said. "Some of your people have already asked to join the alliance. They're working to rebuild their worlds as free societies. Others are still trying to recreate the collective." "What do you want to do?" It was a question Vextal had never been asked before. For his entire life, he had followed orders and given orders. The idea of choosing his own path was foreign and frightening. "I don't know," he admitted. "Then maybe you should take some time to figure it out," Sarah suggested kindly. "The choice will still be there when you're ready to make it." As the first anniversary of the war approached, humanity received a message that surprised everyone. It came from the edge of the galaxy, from species that had never been contacted by the collective. To the humans of Earth, the message read, "We have heard of your victory over the Zephyrian collective. We have also heard of how you used that victory. We would like to meet with you and learn more about your alliance." The message was signed by representatives of over 100 different species from across the galaxy. Dr. Torres smiled as he read the message to the gathered world leaders. "It seems word is spreading about what we've accomplished here." President Martinez looked thoughtful. Are we ready for that level of responsibility? Potentially hundreds of new worlds joining our alliance? I don't think it's about being ready, Marcus replied. I think it's about being willing to help others find their own paths to freedom. The story of humanity's war with the Zephyrian Collective spread throughout the galaxy. It became a legend that inspired oppressed peoples everywhere. But the real lesson was not about human military might or technological innovation.